Welcome to Growing Up Boomer. I'm your host, Padre, with my co-host, Professor. And this podcast is dedicated to the life and times of the baby boomer generation. The show is loosely scripted, and sometimes we'll go down rabbit holes, and where it leads us to, one will never know. This podcast can be informative, funny, and sometimes irreverent. But most of all, we hope you find it entertaining. Hello and welcome to Growing Up Boomer. I'm your host, Padre, and we will take a trip down memory lane on some of the things that we used to grow up with if you were a baby boomer. Now, today we're going to go over some of the weird things that people used to believe 60 years ago. Oh man, some of them are pretty crazy. But before we do, I got to tell you, I was reading an article. I can't remember what website this was in, but it had said that if you were an extremely intelligent person, these 10 characteristics would be a sign of extreme intelligence. Now, I went through all these 10 and read them down, okay? And I discovered that I possessed, let's say, about 7 to 8 of these characteristics. Okay? I emulated at least 7 or 8 of them. But you know what that means? That means this list is wrong. Okay? There is no way. Anyone that knows Padre here knows I am not extremely intelligent. Okay, so I mean, that was end of story. I'm going like, nah, I'm looking at this list. Nah, this is not it. Throw it away. You know, but one of the things that I did not, one of my characteristics that were not in there was it said people who were extremely intelligent are very messy because they don't have time to clean up because their mind's always going. Okay, now, anyone that knows me knows I'm an organizing clean freak. Okay, I just do not understand why people have messes. I mean, I want to find things when the lights are off. Okay, I want to know where that thing is. I can just walk over, I can pick it up. But my daughter's kind of the same way. But you know what they say about organized people? We're just too lazy to look for stuff. Okay, well, let's get into the podcast. Today we're going to talk about weird things that people believed 60 years ago. All right, now, the first one, I mean, I remember this, and you can see it sometimes in 1950 movies, 40s, 50s. They used to believe that jiggling belts could help you melt away the fat. Okay, if you remember, they would sit back, lean back, and then there would be these things that go back and forth, and they would shake you, and they were supposed to be able to melt away the fat. How they did that, I have no idea. But you know what? They must have sold a ton of them because they would have gyms with just these lined up like treadmills. Yeah, I can't believe we believed in that. All righty. But you know what? This is us. This is America. We want to do things the easy way. We don't want to take time to work out or whatever. We can just stand there, lean back, and let this machine do the work. Fine. Okay? Give me a miracle drug. That's what we always want. Just give me something so I don't have to work at it. Okay? Now get this one here. The second thing that we used to believe was drunk driving was no big deal, right? I mean, that's no big deal. Baby boomers, how many times can you remember your parents driving with a buzz? Okay? Now, in the 60s, it wasn't so much alcohol, but driving stoned. Okay, I'm just going like, oh man, thank goodness I've never fell into either of those categories. But if you remember, They used to have the little pop tops, remember? And they were all over the place, all over the beaches and everything. A matter of fact, they were so popular, if you remember, they were in Jimmy Buffett's song, Margaritaville, remember? I blew out my flip-flop, stepped on a pop top, and they were all over the beaches, right? It was just unbelievable. So I think it was Coors that came up with a tab. Now, it wasn't a tab now, because this one was like a tab and you just flipped it off and you throw it away, because people couldn't find what you used to call a church key or a can opener to open up the beer. So they came up with these pop tops. But the problem is, once you pop them, people just throw them out. And people were, especially at the beach, were cutting their feet and stuff like that. So they decided to come up with another one. I think it was Coors. And you would push, and it had two circles. One was a large one, one was a small one. And you'd have to take it and like this, and you push each one down. Now, it was pretty hard to maneuver. It's not like today where you just flip it and it's fine. They got sued, or at least tried to get sued, by someone from Texas because they complained that it was too hard to open the can while they were driving. That's how much it was not a big deal. I mean, this did not really, in all honesty, this did not become a big deal till the 80s, when groups such as MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, really started taking an issue with drunk driving. And by let's say 2004, it was pretty much universal. You do not drive drunk, okay? I mean, I'm sure the same thing's going to happen with marijuana as well, which is you can see, especially in California, where it says, driving high is buzz driving. So we'll see. But, the other thing that they used to have a long, long time ago, during the 50s and the 60s, and this was mostly in the rural areas. If you remember your high school days, think about the clubs you were in, okay? I was pretty nerdy, so I was in the chess club and the ham radio club. I mean, how nerdy can you get? I mean, that is like the pinnacle of nerdyship, okay? But normally in the Midwest and rural areas, they actually hosted gun clubs. I mean, I know someone who comes from the city, we couldn't fathom that. But still, it was one of those things that it was well accepted, and I don't know if they still do it anymore, but certainly back then it was nothing. I mean, they have it all the time. How about radiation was considered therapeutic? I did not believe this. So I had to go onto the internet and look it up. And sure enough, there was stuff that was sold to households which were radiant-laced face cream. I mean, I can't believe this. All righty, this is in the 40s and 50s. All righty. In other words, it was supposed to be the cure-all. I mean, it got rid of wrinkles, chronic pain. I mean, everyone, the scientific community was excited about this, and saying, wow, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But, after decades of using this, all of a sudden you started seeing cancer cases and sometimes even birth defects. So they finally said, you know what, we need to restrict this and get rid of it altogether. All right. How about the flight attendants? All righty. I mean, think about this. It was more than about hiring people to be, shall we say, and it was always a female stewardess. I mean, it was more like a beauty contest. Number one, they had to be young. They had to be single. They had to be slim. They had to be childless, righty, and conventionally attractive. You might as well have a beauty contest. All right. As far as the professionalism was concerned, that was like thrown out the window. You just got to look good. It was almost like not a job, but a modeling gig. But that's what people expected. And besides, flying really wasn't for the common man. I mean, flying was very expensive, and not everybody got to do it. As a matter of fact, I was not on an airplane probably until I was well in my 20s. Okay. Now, once I started moving up the corporate ladder, I was on a plane all the time. But until then, I mean, we were driving. We couldn't afford to fly. It was too expensive, right? Oh, and how about this one? This one kills me, okay? Remember the food pyramid? I guess we reversed it and stuff like that. But you remember eggs were bad, right? But sugar was good. Eggs were the carpet, but sugar got a complete pass. You remember the cereals that we used to eat? Oh my goodness. We could do a show on just the cereals that we ate in the 50s and 60s, even in the 70s. And one of my favorite was Sugar Crisp. Remember with Sugar Bear? Do you remember that one? That thing had 50% sugar. Do you remember those commercials? Can't get enough of that Sugar Crisp, Sugar Crisp. Remember that one? Sugar Crisp, can't get enough of that Sugar Crisp. Keeps me going strong. And in the 50s, this is how far back it goes. It had 3 bears. And the 3 bears would tell you, hey, this is great for not only breakfast, but for snacks or eating right out of the box. Right? Oh man, we were on a sugar high all the time. No, wait, get this. But they weren't the worst offender. The worst one were Kellogg's All-Stars. That had 58% sugar and 118 calories per ounce. All right. I'm surprised. And maybe it's because of the fact that we were always going. But you look at a lot of these pictures of kids and everything. There's not a overweight kid in the bunch, right? I think the first cereal to do really introduce sugar, I think was Kellogg's introduced the Frosted Flakes in 1955. Now, of course, that got the boring flakes, right? Boring, whatever they were, the flakes, the old corn flakes. Right? And they put sugar on them. I mean, how good is that? And then, of course, they had the mascot, Tony the Tiger, right? I mean, this right here is a driver of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. But man, we ate those things like nobody's business. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm still alive. Right? Oh my goodness. This one, the Gen Zers will fall off their chairs. As a matter of fact, even millennials, and maybe even Gen Xers, but banks could legally refuse women credit just for being a woman. If a woman was seeking a credit card or a loan, she would have to get someone, her husband, or her father to co-sign. I mean, wow. You talk about financial discrimination. Just because you're born with 2 X chromosomes, you can't get a loan or a credit card unless someone with an XY chromosome signs for you. And thank goodness for the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. When that came through, they got rid of that all out the window. But before then, you couldn't do it. There was no way, Oh, and how about seatbelts? Okay, this was seen as government overreach. Alrighty, I mean, they're going like it's kind of like safety regulations. People would complain. Car companies would complain that it was too much money to make their car safe. You know, and in order to get this passed, I mean, people really had to start saying, you know what, we don't want a car unless it has seat belts, because it's, you know, it's what do they say? Because it was a nuisance. Now, get this. In California, you know, we, by the state, had instituted seatbelt laws right away. But it kind of took a little while, especially back east and Midwest. And I used to have a buddy who came from Rhode Island, and we go back to visit, right, to Rhode Island, go back to visit, see the family and everything like that. He'd get in the car, he'd click the seatbelt, and the driver would look at him and say, "Well, you don't trust my driving?" I mean, for us, it was habit. We just clicked it no matter what. You got in the car, boom, you put on the seatbelt. And people were offended when he went to visit the family. So what? You don't trust me? Wow. You know. Oh, and how about this one? Okay. Asbestos was the wonder material. Introduced, I think, in the World Fair in 1936 or 37 or something like that. Matter of fact, it was continuous until, God goodness, they started noticing lung disease from breathing this stuff in. And the other thing was that the Twin Towers, all right, probably about halfway, the columns were sprayed with asbestos. You know, and a lot of people, that's where they believe a lot of people had contracted lung cancer, because when the towers came down, that asbestos went into the air, and they ended up breathing that in. One of them was Donna Summer, who believes that because she had an apartment near the Ground Zero at the time, and she was not a smoker, and she died of lung cancer. But yeah, oh, that was a miracle drug, or the miracle material. I mean, you could do anything for it. I mean, it was in homes, it was in schools, it was in office. They'd use it in manufacturing. Oh man, this thing was everywhere. Yeah, yeah. But it ended up, finally, they said, you know what, we better check into this. And sure enough, that was the villain. Okay. Now, you know, this is so baby boomer. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, this is so baby boomer. The mistrust of ATMs. Okay. That's because, right, whenever I want you Gen Zers to listen. When a baby boomer is on the phone, okay, and they are talking, with financial or whatever, or tech services and things like this, when they're on the phone actually talking to a human, they will always ask their name, okay, because they want to make sure if something goes wrong, they have a name that can say, this person, said this. Okay? That was the mistrust of ATMs for baby boomers. There's nobody to talk to. Who are you going to blame? Okay? I mean, looking at, well, wait a minute. You know, this says this, but I know this is wrong. Okay? That was, you know, I mean, and think about now. You think we were suspicious of ATMs? What about crypto, Bitcoin, all of this stuff? You know, we're going into a cashless society, and that's tough for us. You know, we always have cash just in case, right? Yeah, but but speaking of ATMs, you know what the other thing is, and I remember this was real big. State legislatures were, the state lotteries. When the state legislatures approved state lotteries, they were considered immoral. Okay. And the reason why were a couple of things. First of all, it's gambling. Okay. Some of the churches is gambling. Okay. They associated with also organized crime and gambling addiction, moral corruption. I mean, public attitudes, of course, have changed quite a bit on the lottos. But yeah. Oh, yeah, they were saying this is a an addiction. We can't have this, you need to avoid this. But, but look at now, everybody's going into it. I mean, so that was, that one was an interesting one because the state lottos, the state actually ran those lottos. But once the state started showing that, hey, it is us that is running in it. It's not the mob in the back, because everyone's got this mindset of Vegas, right? Las Vegas. And their mindset is the mob runs the gambling. So, I mean, that was kind of like tied into that. Now, we're going to do one more, and we'll call it quits because this one's a big one. We didn't believe this, but our parents believed it. All righty. Parents of baby boomers believe this. They believed that rock music would destroy America's youth. Okay? I mean, this was parents, teachers, religious leaders blamed rock and roll for everything that teenagers were rebelling against. Okay? Sexual promiscuity, juvenile delinquency, you name it. All right? It was all about rock music. And that wasn't, it was just us. Okay? We didn't need to be influenced by rock music. We were already out there. Okay? So, that was a funny thing. And you think about some of the rock music that was coming out. Alrighty. I mean, a lot of times they just didn't listen to some of the music that we said. Now, we used to talk about this, and you talk about rock music, right? What about hip hop? What about gangster rap? I mean, what came later? I mean, everybody was thrashing the rock music that we baby boomers listened to. But some of the music that came out later, heavy metal, oh golly, all of this stuff. I mean, this just blew our parents' mind. Matter of fact, because we used to listen to our parents, some parents would not allow certain albums into the house. I had friends that their parents, Sgt. Pepper's, forget it. Don't ever bring that album into this house. Okay? Back then, you listened to parents. If they said don't bring it in, you did not bring it in. End of story. But yeah, and there was a big deal one time about what was it? The USSR. All right, you remember the Beatles song back in the USSR? Oh my goodness! Oh man, they were talking about congressional hearings on this song. All righty, because the Beatles kind of made it from Chuck Berry's Back in the USA, and it was just kind of like a parody off of that. And the funny thing about that was that the USSR wouldn't allow that song to be played because it was rock and roll, and it would damage the youth in Russia. It would corrupt the youth in Russia, so they didn't want that song played at all. Go figure. But other than that, we're running a little long. Thank you very much. You have a great day, and may God bless. We'd like to thank you for listening and remind you, if you happen to have any baby boomer topics you'd like us to cover, just email us at growingupboomer@gmail.com. And until next time, may God bless.